Hey guys, tonight we are sailing into the golden age of piracy to meet its most fearsome and theatrical villain, Blackbeard, the man whose name was a synonym for terror, whose black flag meant death, whose very image, a giant of a man with smoke pouring from his beard, was enough to make sailors surrender without a fight. But forget the swashbuckling adventures, the buried treasure, and the epic sea battles. We're going to explore the grim, desperate, and often surprisingly boring reality of the man behind the smoke and fire, a man whose career was born not from a love of adventure, but from a severe lack of better job opportunities. So, before we begin, if you enjoy these quiet dives into history's unglamorous truths, please take a moment to like the video and subscribe. And as always, I'd love to know where you are listening from and what time it is in your part of the world. Now let's weigh anchor, pour a ration of rum, and ease into the deeply unromantic origins of the world's most famous pirate. Congratulations! The year is 1713. You are a man likely named Edward Teach, or perhaps Thatch, probably from the bustling port city of Bristol, England. The good news, you have just survived several years of brutal, death-defying service as a privateer for the British Crown during the long and bloody War of the Spanish Succession. The bad news, the war is over. The great nations of Europe have signed the Treaty of Utrecht and have decided to stop killing each other for a while, which is terrible news for your job security. You, along with 40,000 other trained, violent and skilled sailors, have just been fired. This is the great unglamorous historical fact that gave birth to the golden age of piracy. It was a massive unemployment crisis. For over a decade, the war had created a huge demand for experienced seamen, both in the Royal Navy and on privateering vessels. Essentially, state-sanctioned pirates hired to attack enemy shipping. You were a legal, patriotic sailor, engaged in theft on the high seas for your king and country. But now, with peace declared, you are suddenly a man with a very particular and no longer marketable set of skills. You are dumped back into port cities like Bristol or Port Royal, Jamaica, with no ship, no pay, and no future. You are not a romantic rebel. You are a redundant employee in a severely depressed labor market. The precise details of your early life before you became a pirate are almost completely unknown. Whether you were born in Bristol or Jamaica, whether your real name was Teach or Thatch, are historical footnotes lost to the rum-soaked haze of the era. You were simply one of thousands of anonymous sailors with no prospects. So what are your options? You could try to find work in the Royal Navy, but life in the Navy is a notoriously miserable affair. This is an obscure but vital detail of the time. The pay is terrible, and often months or even years in arrears. The discipline is brutal, with minor infractions punished by a lash with the cat-o'-nine tails. The food is a monotonous rotation of weevilly hardtack biscuits, and salted meat so tough and rancid it's barely recognizable as food, and your chances of dying from disease, scurvy, dysentery, typhus, are significantly higher than your chances of dying in a glorious naval battle. Your other option is to sign on with a merchant vessel. The pay is slightly better, but the conditions are often just as bad. The work is grueling, the food is still terrible, and you are completely at the mercy of the captain, who has absolute authority and is often a tyrant who values his cargo more than his crew. You look at your options. You can join the merchant marine for low pay and the constant threat of being flogged. You can rejoin the Navy and risk dying of a vitamin deficiency, or you can become a pirate. In the burgeoning, lawless pirate havens of the Caribbean, like Nassau, on the island of New Providence, you hear stories of a different way of life. A life where every crewman gets an equal vote in the running of the ship, where the captain can be deposed if he's a coward or a bully, and where every man gets a fair and equal share of any prize. The food is better, because you steal it. The work is dangerous, but you are already used to danger. You do not turn to piracy because you have a rebellious soul and a thirst for high seas adventure. You turn to piracy because it is, by any rational economic measure, the best career option available to you. It is less a yo-ho-ho and a bottle of rum lifestyle choice, and more a pragmatic solution to a severe labor market crisis. And so, sometime around the year 1716, you make your choice. You sail to the Caribbean, to the pirate dens of the Bahamas, and you sign on with a crew. You join the company of the pirate captain Benjamin Hornigold. You are not yet Blackbeard, the terror of the seas. You are just Edward Teach, an unemployed sailor taking a new job in a growing and very exciting industry. Your journey into legend has begun, not with a roar of defiance, but with a quiet, practical, and deeply unromantic career change. You are now a pirate, serving under the command of the seasoned captain Benjamin Hornigold. You are part of the infamous Flying Gang, a loose confederation of pirate crews based in the lawless, chaotic port of Nassau on the island of New Providence. Welcome aboard your new home. It is a cramped, stinking wooden sloop shared by 80 unwashed men and a thriving population of rats, weevils, and cockroaches. The ship's motto is effectively, "What doesn't kill you makes you wish it had." Impersonal space is a myth, and the air is a rich, complex perfume of bilge water, stale rum, sweat, and profound regret. It is, however, better than the Royal Navy. This is the next reason it sucks to be you, though in a different way. You have escaped the tyranny of the Navy, only to find yourself in a floating, dysfunctional democracy from hell. This is a major historical fact of the golden age of piracy. Most pirate ships operated under a pirate code, or articles of agreement, that every man signed or made his mark on before the voyage began. These articles laid out the rules of the ship. Your new captain, Benjamin Hornigold, is a respected leader, but he can be voted out of office at any time if the crew dislikes his decisions. It is a surprisingly progressive system of government, a floating democratic republic where every major decision, where to sail, who to attack, when to accept a pardon, is made by a majority vote of heavily armed, often drunk, career criminals. The exact wording of most pirate articles is lost to history, as they were often just verbal agreements or documents that were quickly destroyed to avoid being used as evidence in a trial. But we know their general principles. They guaranteed every man an equal share of food, water, and most importantly, plunder. The captain and the quartermaster, the two elected officers, typically received only a share and a half or a double share. A callback to the brutal discipline of the Navy you left behind. There is no flogging here for minor offenses, but justice for serious crimes is swift, democratic, and brutal. You witness this firsthand. A man is caught stealing a few silver coins from another pirate's sea chest. This is the ultimate crime on a pirate ship, a violation of the trust that holds this fragile society together. The quartermaster brings the accusation before the entire crew. A makeshift court is held on the main deck. The man is found guilty by a majority vote. His punishment is marooning. This is an obscure but grim reality of the pirate code. He is taken to a small, deserted, sun-bleached sandbar with no food, no shade, and no hope of rescue. He's given a flask of water, a pistol, and a single shot. It is not a romantic adventure. It is a slow, agonizing death sentence. You watch as the ship sails away, leaving him a tiny, desperate figure on the horizon. You have learned a valuable lesson. This new society has rules, and they are enforced with a terrifying finality. Your daily life falls into a routine of boredom, punctuated by moments of terror. For weeks on end, you see nothing but the endless blue of the Caribbean. You spend your days maintaining the ship, patching sails, tarring ropes, scraping barnacles from the hull. It is tedious, monotonous work. The food is an improvement over the Navy, but only just. You eat what you steal. If you capture a merchant ship carrying sugar and flour from Jamaica, you will eat sweet, lumpy porridge for a month. If you capture a ship carrying salted cod from Newfoundland, you will eat salted cod until you start to dream of fish. Your diet is a lottery, and diseases like scurvy and dysentery are still your constant companions. Then, a sail is spotted on the horizon. The boredom instantly evaporates, replaced by a surge of adrenaline. A chase begins. If you are successful and the merchant ship surrenders without a fight, it is a simple, almost boring business transaction. You board the ship, you transfer the cargo, and you let the crew go. But if they resist, it is a brief, chaotic, and brutal explosion of violence. The air fills with the crack of pistols, the roar of small cannons, and the splintering of wood. You are a good fighter, a veteran of your privateering days. You are strong, you are brave, and you are beginning to stand out. Captain Hornigold notices you. He sees your skill, your courage, and your natural ability to command respect from the other men. He promotes you, giving you command of a captured sloop. You are no longer just a crewman. You are a captain of a sort. But you are still an apprentice, learning your trade under a master. And you are beginning to realize that the most powerful weapon in a pirate's arsenal is not his cutlass or his pistol, but his reputation. You are now a pirate captain, a commander in the fleet of Benjamin Hornigold. But you are one of many. You quickly learn that the Caribbean is crowded with ambitious, violent men, all competing for the same limited number of slow-moving, poorly defended merchant ships. Being a competent pirate is good, but in this competitive market, it is not enough. You see other captains risk their lives and their crews in bloody battles for a meager prize. You realize that fighting is bad for business. It damages the ships, it wastes ammunition, and it gets your skilled crew members killed or wounded. The most profitable pirate is not the one who fights the best, but the one who never has to fight at all. And the only way to ensure that is to be so utterly, legendarily terrifying that the mere sight of your flag is enough to make another crew surrender on the spot. This is the next reason it sucks to be you. To survive, you must consciously and deliberately transform yourself from a man into a monster. You realize that being a competent pirate captain is a job, but being a terrifying demon from the depths of hell is a much better business model. You decide to undergo a rebranding. You are no longer just Edward Teach, the skilled sailor from Bristol. You are creating a new product. You are creating Blackbeard. You begin with the name. You let your beard grow, and you do not trim it. You let it grow into a wild, massive black thicket that covers most of your face, a curtain of hair that obscures your humanity. You braid it with black ribbons. It is your new trademark. Then you work on the costume. Before a battle, you dress for a performance. You wear a sling, a bandolier, across your chest, and in it, you stick not one or two, but 6 loaded pistols. You wear a large black captain's hat, and then you add your signature terrifying touch. This is a major historical fact, the detail that would cement your legend. You take slow-burning cannon fuses or lengths of hemp cord dipped in saltpeter and lime water, and you tuck them under your hat and weave them into your beard. And just before you attack, you light them. The effect is pure demonic theater. The fuses do not explode, they smolder, hiss and spit, shrouding your face in a thick cloud of acrid, stinking smoke. To the terrified crew of a merchant ship, you appear on their deck as a giant, cloaked in shadow, your face a furious mask of black hair, with smoke and fire pouring from your head as if you have just emerged from the gates of hell itself. It is an act of brilliant, psychological warfare. Whether your fearsome reputation was based on your actual personal cruelty or almost entirely on this carefully constructed theatrical performance is a matter of debate. Most historical records suggest you preferred to win by intimidation rather than bloodshed, making you more of a terrifying showman than a sadistic butcher. The brand works. Crews who hear that Blackbeard is coming often surrender without firing a single shot. They have heard the stories. They have heard of the demon whose face is a storm of smoke and fire, and they decide, quite rationally, that their cargo of sugar or tobacco is not worth finding out if the stories are true. You complete your brand with a flag. You do not fly the simple skull and crossbones. You design your own personal Jolly Roger. It is an obscure but potent symbol of your philosophy. Your flag depicts a horned skeleton, holding a spear in one hand that is piercing a bleeding red heart, while in the other hand it holds an hourglass. It is not subtle. It is the 18th century equivalent of a corporate logo that says, "Our business model is your violent death, and your time to choose is running out." But this success comes with a heavy burden. You are now a prisoner of your own creation. You can never relax. You can never be seen as just Edward Teach, the man. You must always be the monster, Blackbeard. A callback to the democratic nature of your crew. Your reputation is not just for your victims, it is for your own men. A captain who is seen as a near supernatural force of nature is less likely to be questioned, challenged, or voted out of command. Your brand is a tool of internal control as much as external intimidation. Every morning you must wake up and put on the mask of the monster. Every day you must live up to the terrifying legend you have so carefully and so successfully built. Your brand is a stunning success. The name Blackbeard is now a whisper of terror in every port from the Bahamas to the Carolinas. Merchant crews who see your unique, demonic flag on the horizon often persuade their captains to surrender immediately. Your reputation does your fighting for you. This success allows you to part ways with your mentor, Benjamin Hornigold, who accepts a royal pardon and retires from the pirate life. You are now your own man, the commodore of your own small fleet. And every great commodore needs a great flagship. In November of 1717, you capture your prize. It is a large French vessel named La Concorde. This is a major historical fact, the origin of your legendary ship. But La Concorde is not a sleek frigate or a powerful man-of-war. It is a slave ship, designed to transport hundreds of captive human beings in its dark, foul-smelling hold. You have just acquired your legendary flagship. You rename it the Queen Anne's Revenge. It is a terrifying vessel which you eventually arm with 40 cannons. It was also, until very recently, a place of profound human misery, and its timbers are soaked in the smells and sorrows of that trade. It is slow, it handles like a pregnant cow in a strong current, and it will be your grand floating headquarters. The exact reason you chose the name Queen Anne's Revenge is unknown. Was it a political statement of Jacobite sympathies, showing loyalty to the deposed Stuart dynasty? Or did you just think it sounded cool and intimidating? Given your talent for marketing, it was likely the latter. This is the next reason it sucks to be you. Even at the height of your power, your daily existence is one of profound, grinding physical discomfort. Your magnificent ship is a floating wooden slum. It is constantly damp, the wood groaning and leaking. The hold, where your crew sleeps in cramped hammocks, smells of bilge water, unwashed bodies, stale rum, and the ghosts of its former cargo. The ship is infested with rats, cockroaches, and weevils. The weevils are a particular problem. They get into the ship's biscuits, the hardtack that is the staple of your diet, riddling the dry, tooth-breaking bread with their larvae. You get used to tapping your biscuit on the table before you eat to knock most of them out. You learn to eat in the dark, so you can't see the ones you missed and the food. This is an obscure but central part of pirate life. The food is an improvement over the Navy, but only when you've recently captured a prize. When supplies run low, your diet becomes a monotonous and unhealthy rotation of preserved goods. The water in the wooden barrels, sloshing around for weeks under the Caribbean sun, quickly becomes a warm, green, slimy liquid. You have to drink it through your teeth to filter out the larger chunks of algae. It is, however, often slightly alcoholic from fermentation, which is universally considered a bonus. The main course on many nights is a pirate specialty known as salmagundi. It is a vibrant, chaotic dish, less a recipe and more a desperate attempt to create flavor by throwing everything you have into one bowl and hoping for the best. It might consist of chopped salted beef, pickled herring, the occasional bit of turtle meat, whatever vegetables are left that haven't turned to mush, hard-boiled eggs, and a heavy dressing of oil, vinegar, and spices. It is the signature cuisine of men who have run out of other options. You are the captain. You have your own cabin, a privilege that sets you apart, but it is still a small, damp wooden room on a constantly rocking ship. You are surrounded by filth and disease. Scurvy, with its bleeding gums and aching joints, is a constant threat. Dysentery, known as the bloody flux, can sweep through a cramped crew with deadly speed. A simple cut from a rope or a wood splinter can become infected in the tropical humidity, leading to a fever, gangrene, and a grim amputation by the ship's carpenter, whose primary medical tool is a bottle of rum and a very large saw. You are the fearsome Blackbeard, master of your ship, a king in your own small floating kingdom, but you cannot command the weevils to leave your bread. You cannot order the water to become fresh. You cannot vote to make scurvy illegal, a callback to the pirate democracy that governs your crew. Your power is immense, but it is a power that is constantly undermined by the mundane, miserable reality of your physical environment. You are a legend who still has to eat buggy biscuits and drink green water, just like the lowest cabin boy. And the smoke from the fuses in your beard cannot hide the constant, wretched smell of your own life. You are now at the absolute apex of your power. It is the spring of 1718. You are the commodore of a small flotilla of pirate ships, with your mighty 40-gun flagship, the Queen Anne's Revenge, at its center. Your name is a weapon, your flag a guarantee of surrender. You have become so successful that the simple, opportunistic piracy of your early days feels beneath you. You are ready for a grander, more audacious act, something that will cement your legend for all time. You decide to blockade one of the richest and most important ports in the British American colonies, Charlestown, in South Carolina. It is a bold, terrifying act of naval supremacy. Your goal, to acquire a large quantity of mercury-based medicines and soothing balms. This is the next and perhaps most bizarre reason it sucks to be you. You are the most feared pirate in the world, and you are forced to commit your greatest act of terror, not for gold, not for jewels, not for revenge, but because your crew is suffering from a raging outbreak of venereal disease. The historical record is clear. In May of 1718, you sail your fleet to the mouth of Charlestown Harbor and simply park there, preventing any ship from entering or leaving. You capture a handful of outbound vessels, including one carrying a group of the city's most prominent citizens. You take them hostage. The city is thrown into a state of absolute panic. They expect you to demand a massive ransom in gold, to burn the ships, to threaten to bombard the town. Instead, you send a messenger ashore with your list of demands. You do not ask for money. You ask for a single, large, fully stocked chest of medicine. The exact nature of the illness sweeping your crew is not recorded, but historians widely speculate it was syphilis, the so-called Great Pox, a common scourge of sailors in the 18th century, or perhaps yellow fever. Whatever it was, your need for medical supplies was so desperate that you were willing to risk a full-scale war with an entire, wealthy colony just to get them. The hostages are terrified, expecting to be tortured or murdered at any moment. Instead, they are forced to endure several days of your terrible food and the philosophical ramblings of your first mate, while you wait for the colonial government to fulfill your bizarre prescription. The city government, in a state of confusion and fear, scrambles to meet your demand. They gather the medicines, the ointments, the pills, the mercury compounds that were the grim, toxic treatment of the day. After a few days of delay and a threat from you to execute all the prisoners, the chest is finally delivered to your ship. You have successfully committed one of the greatest and most audacious acts of piracy in history to acquire a treatment for what was, most likely, an epidemic of sexually transmitted disease among your crew. You are a man of your word. You let the hostages go, even, according to some accounts, giving them back their fine clothes which you had initially seized. You then casually sail away, your mission accomplished. You are not just a pirate, you are a healthcare warrior, a man who has used the threat of naval bombardment as a tool for public health acquisition. This entire episode, while terrifying for the people of Charlestown, is a profound glimpse into the miserable reality of your life. A callback to the constant threat of disease that haunted your days. This is the grand culmination of that theme. Your greatest enemy is not the Royal Navy. It is the microscopic world of bacteria and viruses that thrives in the squalid, unsanitary conditions of your floating society. You have built a legend as a demon of the sea, a fearsome conqueror driven by a lust for gold. But the pathetic, boring truth is that you are, at your core, a desperate manager of a crew of sick, miserable men, and your most legendary act was nothing more than a very, very aggressive trip to the pharmacy. You have successfully terrorized an entire colony into meeting your medical demands. You are now at the absolute peak of your fame and power. You are the commodore of a flotilla of 4 ships, with your massive 40-gun flagship, the Queen Anne's Revenge, leading the way. Your crew numbers in the hundreds, perhaps as many as 400 men. You are, without a doubt, the most powerful and feared pirate in the Americas. A rational man in your position would leverage this power to seize even greater prizes, to build a pirate empire. You, however, are not a rational man. You are a man who is tired of the headaches, and a crew of 400 men is a very large, very constant headache. This is the next reason it sucks to be you. Your great success has become a logistical and managerial nightmare. You have to feed 400 men. You have to manage their disputes, their drinking, their constant grumbling. A callback to the pirate democracy you once found so appealing. A crew of this size is a volatile political entity, a floating town meeting of armed and deeply unreasonable men. Every prize you take has to be divided into 400 increasingly small shares. The responsibility is immense, the profits are diluted, and the glamour of being a great pirate commodore is quickly wearing off. So, you decide to engage in a bit of corporate downsizing, pirate style. In June of 1718, just a few weeks after your triumph at Charlestown, you sail your fleet into Beaufort Inlet, North Carolina. And here, you do something completely inexplicable. You accidentally run your magnificent flagship, the Queen Anne's Revenge, aground on a sandbar. It is a shocking display of poor seamanship from one of the most experienced sailors in the Caribbean. As another of your ships, the Adventure, rushes in to try and help, it, too, accidentally runs aground. It is a series of very unfortunate and suspiciously convenient accidents. The flagship is damaged beyond repair and must be abandoned. Whether the grounding of the Queen Anne's Revenge was a genuine, embarrassing accident or a deliberate, cynical plot to cull your fleet and crew to increase your own share of the profits is the great mystery of your career. But given what you do next, the evidence for a planned betrayal is strong. In the ensuing chaos, you order all of the most valuable plunder from the wrecked ships to be transferred not to the largest remaining vessel, but to a small, fast sloop, the Revenge. With the treasure secured, you gather the entire crew together. You inform them, with what one can only assume was a great deal of feigned regret, that with the loss of the 2 largest ships, there is simply not enough room for everyone to continue. You then take your hand-picked inner circle of most trusted, loyal pirates, about 60 men, and board the sloop Revenge, and you leave. You abandon the majority of your crew, well over 200 men, marooning them on a barren sandbar with few supplies. It is a brutal but ruthlessly effective way to avoid having to deal with HR complaints and to dramatically increase your own share of the treasure. This is a major historical fact, the moment you shatter the myth of the pirate brotherhood. You are not a charismatic leader of a band of loyal sea rovers. You are a ruthless CEO of a criminal enterprise, and you have just laid off 3/4 of your workforce in the most permanent way possible. A callback to the brutal justice of marooning you witnessed as a young pirate. You are now inflicting that same fate not on a single thief, but on the very men who helped you become the most feared pirate on the seas. You sail away, leaving them to their fate, their curses likely following you on the wind. Most of them will eventually be rounded up by the authorities, or will have to beg for a royal pardon. You do not care. You have your treasure. You have a small, loyal, and manageable crew, and you have a fast ship. You have traded the burden of being a great commodore for the leaner, more profitable life of a simple, treacherous pirate. It is a cold, pragmatic, and deeply dishonorable act. And it is the beginning of your final chapter. You have downsized your criminal enterprise with ruthless efficiency. With a small, loyal crew and a fast sloop loaded with the best of the plunder, you are now in a position to enjoy your earnings. But you are also a pragmatist. The colonial governors are cracking down, the Royal Navy is increasing its patrols, and the golden age of piracy is showing signs of a terminal illness. You decide it is the perfect time for a strategic career change. You are going to retire. You sail your sloop, the Revenge, to the small, sleepy port town of Bath, the capital of North Carolina. And here, you do the unthinkable. You seek out the governor, Charles Eden, and you formally accept the king's pardon. This is a major historical fact of your story. In 1718, King George I issued a proclamation offering a full pardon for all acts of piracy, provided the pirates surrendered to a British governor by a set date. It was an amnesty, an attempt to peacefully dismantle the pirate threat that was crippling colonial trade. You, the fearsome Blackbeard, the demon of the seas, walk into the governor's office, swear an oath of allegiance to the crown, and promise that your days of terrorizing the high seas are over. You are now a changed man, ready to try your hand at the quiet, respectable life. This will last for about 5 minutes. Whether your acceptance of the pardon was a genuine attempt to leave the pirate life behind, or a cynical, strategic move to lie low, repair your ship, and wait for the heat to die down before resuming your career, is a matter of historical debate. Given your track record for profound dishonesty, the latter seems more likely. But for now, you play the part. You settle in Bath. You might have even bought a house and, according to some local legends, married the daughter of a local plantation owner. You are now Blackbeard, the respectable country gentleman. This is the next reason it sucks to be you. The real world is profoundly, soul-crushingly boring. Your new life is a quiet nightmare of social etiquette and tedious chores. There are no ships to chase, no cannons to fire, and the most exciting part of your day is a heated debate at the general store about the price of tobacco. This is an obscure but deeply human reality for many pardoned pirates. They were men conditioned by a life of extreme freedom, adrenaline and danger. The slow, quiet, rule-bound world of colonial society was a prison of a different kind. You were not built for this. Your neighbors are, to put it mildly, terrified of you. You are the most famous and fearsome criminal in the world, and you now live at the end of their street. Your attempts at making friendly conversation are not well received. The other citizens of Bath see you not as a reformed man, but as a sleeping wolf who could wake up at any moment. You are a social outcast, a pariah. The very reputation you so carefully crafted to inspire terror on the high seas, a callback to your branding genius, now works against you, ensuring you will never be accepted in a peaceful community. You have money from your last prize, but you are a sailor. You are a man of action. The quiet life of a planter or a merchant holds no appeal. The days drag on. The boredom is a physical ache, a dull, constant throb that is worse than any battle wound. You quickly realize that a life of peace, with its endless rules, its quiet judgments, and its profound lack of things to set on fire, is significantly more miserable than a life of piracy. You did not escape the gallows to die of boredom in North Carolina. You still have your sloop, the Revenge, legally registered now as a trading vessel. You have your loyal crew of 60 men who are just as bored and out of place as you are. And you have the friendship of the Governor Charles Eden, a man who is not entirely opposed to looking the other way if a profitable opportunity should present itself. Your retirement, it is becoming clear, is not a permanent condition. It is merely a strategic pause, a short, boring intermission before the final bloody act of your career begins. Your retirement is a failure. The quiet, respectable life is a cage, and you were not built for cages. You have a fast ship, a loyal crew, and a profound allergy to honest work. You realize that what you need is not to abandon your old profession, but to evolve it. You need a business partner, and you find the perfect one in the Governor of North Carolina, Charles Eden. You discover that retirement is terrible, so you decide to get back into your old line of work, but with a modern corporate twist. You are no longer just a pirate. You are an entrepreneur entering into a promising public-private partnership with the colonial government. This is the next reason it sucks to be you. You cease to be a romantic, rebellious outlaw and become just another cog in a grubby, corrupt political machine. This is a major historical fact of your later career. Governor Charles Eden was the ruler of a poor, sparsely populated, and economically stagnant colony. He needed revenue. You were a man who was exceptionally good at acquiring goods without paying for them. The Governor of North Carolina, Charles Eden, is a reasonable man. He understands that governing a poor, swampy colony is difficult, and he is open to creative new revenue streams. Your arrangement is simple. You provide the stolen goods, and he provides the veneer of legal respectability. It is a beautiful friendship built on a solid foundation of shared greed and political corruption. The exact nature of the financial arrangement between you and Governor Eden was, for obvious reasons, never written down. Whether he received a straight percentage of your loot or was paid off in specific valuable goods is unknown, but the evidence of their collusion was strong enough to create a massive political scandal after your death. Your operation now has a comfortable, predictable rhythm. You sail your sloop, the Revenge, out of Ocracoke Inlet, your new base of operations, and into the busy shipping lanes. You find a likely target. A French merchant ship, for example, laden with valuable sugar and cocoa. A callback to your fearsome brand. You raise your demonic flag. The French captain, knowing the stories, wisely surrenders without a fight. But you do not simply rob the ship. That would be crude. You are now a sophisticated businessman. Instead, you employ an obscure but brilliant legal loophole, the law of salvage. You force the French crew onto a small boat with a few provisions and set them adrift. You then sail your new prize ship, now conveniently abandoned, back to Bath. Here, you inform Governor Eden that in an incredible stroke of good fortune, you just happen to find this French merchant ship drifting aimlessly at sea, a derelict. As the finder, you are legally entitled to claim it and its cargo as salvage. The governor convenes his vice-admiralty court, a court presided over by his friend and secretary, Tobias Knight. After a very brief and not particularly thorough investigation, the court officially condemns the prize. The cargo is legally awarded to you, its heroic rescuer. You have just laundered an entire shipload of stolen goods. The fact that the original French crew was last seen on a small rowboat in the middle of the Atlantic, hundreds of miles from land, is a tragic but, legally speaking, entirely unrelated mystery. You then sell the now legal sugar and cocoa to the local merchants, perhaps even to the governor himself, at a discounted price. The local economy gets a boost, the governor gets a cut, and you get a handsome tax-free profit. It is a perfect cyclical system of crime and corruption. But it sucks the last remaining romance out of your life. You are not a swashbuckling adventurer, a king of the seas defying empires. You are a racketeer, a glorified smuggler, working in collusion with a corrupt, small-town politician. Your fearsome persona, the smoke and the beard and the pistols, is no longer a tool of rebellion. It is a business asset, a brand used to efficiently acquire inventory for your corrupt little enterprise. You spend your evenings not carousing in the wild pirate dens of Nassau, but making polite coded conversation at the governor's dinner table, discussing shipping manifests and market prices. You have traded the chaotic democracy of the pirate code for the quiet, soul-crushing hypocrisy of colonial politics. You are safer than you have ever been. You are also, in a strange way, more of a prisoner than you ever were in the Royal Navy. You have become a part of the very system of greed and authority you once claimed to be fighting against. Your new business model is a quiet success. Your life settles into a comfortable, if morally bankrupt, routine. You spend your time in the sleepy, humid waterways of North Carolina, particularly the sheltered Ocracoke Inlet. It is your personal fiefdom, a safe harbor where you can repair your ship, carouse with your small, loyal crew, and conduct your business under the benevolent, willfully blind eye of your partner, Governor Charles Eden. You have, it seems, successfully hacked the system. You have found a way to be a pirate with all of the profit and none of the risk. But this is the next reason it sucks to be you. Your cozy, corrupt little world is not happening in a vacuum. And you have overlooked one small but very important detail: your neighbors. Specifically, the very powerful, very wealthy, and very unamused colony of Virginia to the north, whose ships you and your men keep salvaging. This is the major historical fact that will lead directly to your downfall: the political opposition of the governor of Virginia, Alexander Spotswood. Spotswood is everything your protector, Governor Eden, is not. He is an energetic, ambitious, and effective administrator, a former army officer who runs his colony with military precision. And he is growing increasingly furious. He is receiving a constant stream of reports from Virginian merchants whose ships are being plundered by a notorious pirate, who then sails a few miles south to North Carolina and becomes a perfectly legal citizen. He sees you less as a charming rogue and more as a recurring, expensive pest that is severely disrupting his colony's shipping revenue. The situation is complicated by a deep-seated colonial rivalry, an obscure but vital part of the political landscape. Virginia, the oldest and wealthiest of the southern colonies, has always looked down on North Carolina as a poor, swampy, lawless backwater populated by smugglers, debtors, and failed farmers. The fact that this upstart colony is now actively harboring the most infamous pirate in the world is a profound insult to Virginia's sense of order and superiority. Spotswood sends letters to Governor Eden demanding that he deal with you. Eden sends back polite, non-committal replies promising to look into the matter. Nothing happens. The exact level of Governor Eden's complicity in your piracy is debated, but his inaction and the legal cover his courts provided were, at a minimum, a form of willful negligence. Whether he was a full partner in your crimes or just a weak governor who found it easier to look the other way is a question that died with him. Spotswood, realizing that he cannot rely on the corrupt government of North Carolina to act, decides to do something unprecedented and highly illegal. He decides to take matters into his own hands. He will launch a secret, cross-jurisdictional military operation to invade North Carolina and kill you himself. He acts outside of his legal authority, using his own money and Virginian public funds to privately finance the expedition. He secretly hires two small, shallow draft sloops, the Jane and the Ranger, and staffs them not with Virginian militia, but with professional sailors and soldiers from the Royal Navy warships currently stationed in Virginia. He places the entire expedition under the command of a determined and capable Royal Navy officer, Lieutenant Robert Maynard. All of this is done in absolute secrecy. While you are busy enjoying your semi-retirement, selling your stolen sugar and cocoa in Bath, and perhaps even attending church on Sunday to keep up appearances, a secret military task force is being assembled just one colony over with the single specific goal of your extermination. You're about to become the subject of an illegal, top-secret military operation, which is a very inconvenient thing to have happen when you're supposed to be enjoying the fruits of your corrupt partnership. Your legendary reputation, a callback to the brand you so carefully crafted, has now become your greatest liability. You are no longer just a nuisance. You are Blackbeard, a symbol of the lawlessness that the new, more orderly British Empire is determined to stamp out. Your success has made you too big, too famous, and too much of an embarrassment to be ignored. You sit in your quiet anchorage at Ocracoke, feeling safe and secure, protected by your alliances and your fearsome name. You have no idea that the wheels of your own destruction are already in motion, set in place not by a king in a distant palace, but by an angry, efficient governor just a few hundred miles up the coast. The storm is gathering, and you are sailing directly into its path, completely unaware. While Governor Spotswood and Lieutenant Maynard are secretly plotting your demise in Virginia, you are enjoying the most relaxed and confident period of your entire career. This is the next and perhaps most tragically ironic reason it sucks to be you. Your final days are spent in a state of blissful, arrogant ignorance. You have become a victim of your own success. You believe you have outsmarted the system, that your alliance with Governor Eden makes you untouchable. You have grown careless. Your base of operations, Ocracoke Inlet, contributes to this false sense of security. This is an obscure but vital geographical detail. Ocracoke is a labyrinth of shallow channels, treacherous sandbars, and small sandy islands. It is a nightmare for any deep-draft vessel to navigate. Large Royal Navy warships, the kind that could easily blow your small sloop out of the water, cannot enter its shallow waters. It is a perfect natural fortress, a safe harbor for a pirate who knows its secrets. You feel completely safe here, protected by the very landscape that the forces of law and order cannot penetrate. In October and November of 1718, feeling untouchable, you decide to host a party. This is a major historical fact, the final legendary gathering of the last great pirates of the Golden Age. You throw a week-long pirate jamboree at Ocracoke. Other infamous pirate captains, including the notoriously cruel Charles Vane and the flamboyant Calico Jack Rackham, sail in to join you. It is a festival of bad decisions, featuring heavy drinking, the trading of stolen goods, and probably a great deal of singing off-key sea shanties late into the night. It is the greatest pirate convention of the year, and you have no idea that two small, shallow-draft naval sloops are your uninvited guests, silently making their way down the coast. The exact nature of the conversations at this great pirate gathering is lost to history. Were you and the other captains planning a new unified pirate republic to defy the authorities? Were you just enjoying one last great party before the law inevitably closed in for good? Or was it simply a chaotic, drunken reunion with no grander purpose than to drink rum and compare plunder? What is certain is that you and your crew were in no condition to be vigilant. You have spies and lookouts posted, of course, but they are your drunk pirate friends. Their primary concerns at this point are finding more rum and arguing about who has the best hat, not diligently scanning the horizon for the approach of a secret government death squad from a neighboring colony. Your intelligence network, you are about to discover, has some significant blind spots. While you are feasting on roasted pig and drinking with Charles Vane, Lieutenant Maynard is carefully and methodically hunting you. He knows he cannot bring a large warship into Ocracoke. He is commanding the two small sloops hired by Spotswood, which are shallow enough to navigate the inlet. He sails down the coast, stopping local trading vessels and interrogating their captains about your whereabouts. He learns your exact location, the number of men you have with you, and that you are in the middle of a massive, distracting party. He has a perfect, detailed intelligence report. You have a hangover. This is the ultimate sucky reality of your situation. You are a man who built his entire career on a fearsome brand, a callback to the smoke and fire you used to terrify your victims. You believe so strongly in your own myth that you have started to think you are invincible. You believe your corrupt governor will protect you. You believe the shallow waters of your hideout will protect you. You believe your fearsome name alone is enough to keep the world at bay. But the world is no longer afraid of your brand. A quiet, determined, and completely sober naval officer who is not on your corrupt governor's payroll is now silently poling his way through the dark, shallow channels of Ocracoke Inlet. The party is almost over, and you are the only one who doesn't know it. The morning of November 22nd, 1718, dawns grey and cool over Ocracoke Inlet. You wake up on your sloop, the Adventure, with what is likely a spectacular hangover. Your glorious pirate party has left you and your remaining crew in a state of weary, rum-soaked satisfaction. The other pirate captains, like Charles Vane, have already sailed on. You are lingering, enjoying your last few days of corrupt, protected peace before setting out for another season of salvaging. As you come on deck in the pale morning light, you see them, two small, unfamiliar sloops, making their way deliberately through the channel directly towards you. It is the Royal Navy, and they have brought you a morning greeting in the form of heavily armed men and bad intentions. This is the next reason it sucks to be you. Your safe harbor has just become a trap, but you are not particularly worried. You are Blackbeard. You have faced down Spanish warships. You are the terror of the seas. You look at these two small ships and you see an easy victory. This is a major historical fact and your first fatal miscalculation of the day. You are caught with a skeleton crew. The exact number of pirates you had on board the Adventure is unknown, but it was likely less than 20. The rest of your loyal hand-picked men are probably still ashore, sleeping off the effects of the week-long party. You are outnumbered in terms of men, but your sloop is well armed. You have at least 8 cannons ready to fire. The approaching sloops have only small arms. As Lieutenant Maynard's ships approach, you engage in the traditional theatrical banter of naval confrontation. You hail them, shouting across the water, demanding to know who they are and from whence they came. Maynard shouts back that they are here to take you. You laugh, grab a jug of liquor and drink a toast to them, shouting, "Damnation seize my soul if I give you quarters or take any from you." Maynard, a man not known for his sense of humor, reportedly replies that he expects no quarters from you, nor shall he give any. The polite declarations of mutual annihilation are complete. The fight can now begin. You are supremely confident. You are in your home territory, and you have the superior firepower. You wait for Maynard's sloops to get within point-blank range. Then you give the order to fire. Your cannons, loaded with a devastating mix of swan-shot nails and scrap-iron grape-shot, erupt in a single deafening broadside. The effect on the approaching ships is catastrophic. The blast rips across the open decks of the Jane and the Ranger. A significant portion of Maynard's men are killed or wounded instantly. The Ranger is so badly damaged it is effectively out of the fight, eventually running aground. You have just crippled the enemy force with your very first shot. You and your crew let out a cheer. You assume the fight is already over. This is a classic case of overconfidence. This is where your reputation, a callback to the brand you so carefully built, begins to work against you. You are so accustomed to inspiring terror, to winning battles with a single, overwhelming display of force, that you have forgotten what it is like to fight an enemy who is not afraid of you. Lieutenant Robert Maynard is not a merchant captain. He is a professional naval officer. He is determined, and he is clever. In a brilliant, desperate move, he orders all of his surviving men to hide below deck, making it look as if your cannon blast has killed everyone. You see his ship, the Jane, drifting towards you, apparently crewless and helpless. You believe you have won. You believe the surviving officer is ready to surrender. You decide to close in and board his ship to claim your prize. It is a fatal, arrogant mistake. You have spent your career winning through fear and psychological warfare. You are now being lured into a trap by a man who is using that same psychology against you. You steer your sloop, the Adventure, alongside the seemingly dead ship, preparing to lead a boarding party to accept their surrender. You have no idea you are sailing directly into an ambush, a bloody, close-quarters fight that will be your last. You believe you have won. Your devastating broadside has silenced the enemy. Their ship, the Jane, drifts towards you, its deck eerily empty, a ghost ship crewed by the dead and dying. Your arrogance, forged over 2 years of seeing men tremble at the mere sight of you, is now your undoing. You make the final, fatal decision. You order your men to throw grappling hooks and pull the 2 ships together. It is time to board and claim your prize. You, the great Blackbeard, will lead the boarding party yourself. You leap onto the deck of Maynard's sloop, your cutlass drawn, ready to accept the surrender of a few terrified survivors and tally up your winnings. Instead, the hatches on the deck burst open, and a dozen very angry, very much alive Royal Navy sailors, led by Maynard himself, pour out from the hold where they had been hiding. You have not just boarded a prize ship. You have just boarded a floating wooden box full of trained soldiers whose only job this morning is to kill you. It is a surprise party, and you, in your great black coat and smoking beard, are the piñata. This is the next reason it sucks to be you. Your theatrical brand of psychological warfare is completely useless against men who have been specifically ordered to ignore it and to shoot you in the face. The fight is immediate, chaotic and brutal. The cramped deck of the small sloop becomes a slaughterhouse. There is no room for clever maneuvering, no space for grand duels. It is a clumsy, screaming, slippery mess of hacking and stabbing. Men are tripping over ropes and fallen bodies. The air is thick with the acrid smoke of pistol fire. It is less a glorious battle and more a violent, drunken argument in a very small, very crowded room. You roar, a callback to the monstrous persona you created. You are the terrifying Blackbeard. You fire off your brace of pistols, taking down a few sailors. You toss the empty guns aside and draw your huge cutlass. Unfortunately, the Royal Navy sailors have been given very clear instructions, and they are not impressed by your branding. They are more interested in testing its durability against their own swords. The exact sequence of the hand-to-hand fight is a chaotic blend of eyewitness accounts, each man remembering the blur of smoke and steel differently, but they all agree on the central, brutal facts. You are a giant of a man, a formidable and experienced fighter, and you are filled with a berserker's rage. You carve a path through the sailors, trying to get to their commander, Maynard. You and he finally meet in the middle of the chaos, a personal duel between the pirate king and the naval lieutenant. You swing your heavy cutlass. Maynard, a skilled swordsman, parries, but your brute strength is immense. Your blow breaks his sword. You are about to deliver the killing stroke. But you are not fighting a single man. You are fighting a disciplined military unit. As you raise your arm to kill the disarmed Maynard, a sailor from behind slashes you across the neck with his own sword. The blow is deep. Blood pours down your chest. You stagger, but you do not fall. You are wounded, but your rage and adrenaline are so immense you barely seem to notice. You turn to face your new attacker. Maynard, meanwhile, has drawn his pistol. This is the grim reality of combat, stripped of all romance. It is not about honor or style, it is about survival. Your legend, your fearsome beard, your demonic reputation, none of it matters here. The smoke in your beard has long since fizzled out. You are no longer a myth. You are just a large man bleeding heavily, surrounded by enemies on the deck of a small ship, a very, very long way from your safe harbor. Your brand has failed you. All that is left is the brute, ugly, and increasingly desperate business of the fight itself. The world has become a small, tilting wooden stage, slick with blood and deafening with the roar of pistols and the clash of steel. You are no longer a commander, a legend, or a brand. You are a cornered animal, fighting with the last of your strength. You have just been slashed across the neck, a deep, grievous wound that would have sent a lesser man to his knees. But you are not a lesser man. You are filled with a rage so profound, so absolute, that it seems to ignore the messages of pain your body is screaming at you. You turn on the sailor who cut you, your cutlass raised, ready to repay the favor. It is at this precise moment that Lieutenant Maynard, having calmly reloaded his pistol during the chaos, shoots you in the torso. The impact of the pistol ball is a dull, heavy punch that drives the air from your lungs. You stagger, but you still do not fall. You have now been shot and stabbed more times than seems medically plausible. You are less a man and more a walking collection of fatal wounds that have not yet gotten the message to your brain. Your stubborn refusal to simply die is beginning to seriously annoy the Royal Navy. You raise your cutlass again, ready to fight on, but more of Maynard's men, seeing their leader in danger, now swarm you. This is the next brutal reason it sucks to be you. Your death is not a single heroic moment. It is not a noble last stand. It is a slow, grim and methodical process of being hacked to pieces. A sailor slashes at your arm, another stabs at your side. You are fighting now on pure animal instinct, a giant bleeding beast surrounded by a pack of determined hunters. The historical accounts of your final moments, based on the eyewitness reports of Maynard's crew, are a testament to your almost superhuman endurance. This is a major and gruesome historical fact of your end. They would later report that you sustained at least 5 gunshot wounds and more than 20 severe cutlass wounds before you finally fell. The exact number of wounds you sustained is likely an exaggeration, a way for Maynard's men to enhance the glory of their own victory by emphasizing how difficult their monstrous opponent was to kill. But the core truth remains. Your death was not a clean blow, but a brutal, attritional hacking down of a formidable man. A callback to your empty pistols, your theatrical props are now useless. There is no trick, no psychological ploy left to save you. There is only the grim arithmetic of blood loss. You finally collapse, bleeding out from 24 wounds onto the deck of the ship. Your last act is not a defiant speech or a final dying curse upon your enemies. It is a slow, quiet, and deeply anticlimactic process of dying from a catastrophic number of very large holes. Your career as the terrifying Blackbeard is over. The fight ends almost the instant you fall. The few remaining pirates on your sloop, seeing their captain and their hope of victory gone, quickly surrender. The silence that descends on the deck is broken only by the groans of the wounded and the soft lapping of the water against the hull. The battle is over. You have lost. Lieutenant Maynard's sailors, exhausted and bloodied, gather around your body. This is the final, obscure indignity. They perform a makeshift post-mortem right there on the deck, not for medical science, but out of a kind of morbid, fearful curiosity. They count the wounds on your body, noting each one, trying to understand what kind of man could have absorbed so much punishment and kept fighting. The monster you created, a callback to your carefully constructed brand, has been so effective that even in death, they cannot quite believe you are just a man. They see the 5 pistol balls, the 20 sword cuts, and they finally understand that the only way to kill a legend is to completely and utterly take it apart. You are dead. Your body lies on the blood-soaked deck, a testament to the brutal finality of combat. But your story is not quite over. The indignities you must suffer, it turns out, extend beyond your own mortality. This is the 14th reason it sucks to be you. Even in death, you have no peace, no dignity. Your corpse becomes a prop, a tool, a gruesome trophy in the victory narrative of the man who killed you. Lieutenant Robert Maynard, a practical man, needs undeniable proof that he has accomplished his mission. A simple report will not do. He needs to bring back the monster, or at least the most recognizable part of him, so he gives the order. Your head is to be cut off. It is a very effective, if somewhat messy, way of confirming a kill. Your great famous terrifying head, with its wild, matted and now blood-soaked black beard, is severed from your body with a sailor's cutlass. Your headless corpse is then unceremoniously thrown overboard into the murky waters of Ocracoke Inlet. And here, in this moment of final desecration, a legend is born. This is an obscure but enduring piece of local folklore. The sailors on Maynard's crew and the locals on the shore who claimed to have witnessed the aftermath would later swear that your headless body did not simply sink. They claimed it swam around the sloop several times, some say 3, some 7, as if searching for its own head before finally disappearing into the depths. It is a fantastic supernatural story, a final testament to the mythic, monstrous brand you so carefully constructed. It is also a story that does very little to improve your current, very headless situation. Your severed head, meanwhile, is preserved as best they can manage. It is tied by its long black hair to the bowsprit of Maynard's sloop, the Jane. The bowsprit is the long spar that juts out from the front of a ship. You, the most feared pirate in the world, the man whose name alone was a weapon, have been reduced to a gruesome, dripping, and deeply humiliating hood ornament. This is your final rebranding. Your face, once a mask of fire and smoke designed to inspire terror, is now a decomposing trophy, a warning to all other pirates who might think of challenging the authority of the colonial government of Virginia. The exact reason Maynard chose to display your head so prominently, whether it was a standard naval practice for notorious pirates, a specific order from Governor Spotswood to create a public spectacle, or a personal act of grim triumphalism, is not explicitly stated in his reports. What is clear is the effect. The journey back to Virginia is a slow, triumphant, and horrifying procession. As Maynard's sloop sails past other ships and fishing villages along the coast, people see the famous decaying head of Blackbeard hanging from the bow. It is an unambiguous, powerful message. The great pirate is dead. The reign of terror is over. A callback to your corrupt partnership with Governor Eden. This public display is also a political message aimed directly at him. It is a statement from his rival, Governor Spotswood, that the law has a long reach and that the protection of a weak and corrupt governor is ultimately worthless. You are no longer a person. You are a piece of evidence in a larger political game. You are a symbol used by your enemies to advance their own careers and consolidate their own power. Your death is not just your end, it is their opportunity, and your head, swinging gently from the front of their ship, is their proof of concept. Your head is brought back to Virginia and displayed on a pole at the mouth of the Hampton River as a grim warning to any other pirates who might be considering a career in the area. Your remaining crew members who were captured alive are tried for piracy in Williamsburg, Virginia. Most of them are found guilty and hanged. Your corrupt partner, Governor Charles Eden, is disgraced by the scandal. Your brief, violent, and theatrical career is definitively over. And this is the final and perhaps most significant reason it sucks to be you. Your entire, world-famous, legendary career as the terrifying pirate Blackbeard lasted for an astonishingly short amount of time. This is the great historical fact that the legend obscures. Your time as an independent, infamous pirate captain, from the moment you took command of the Queen Anne's Revenge until your death at Ocracoke, was only about 2 years. You had the historical impact of a major hurricane, intensely destructive, famous for a short period and then gone just as quickly. And what of your great treasure? For centuries, people will dig up islands all over the Caribbean and the Carolina coast, following fanciful maps, searching for your buried chest of gold and jewels. They will find nothing. This is the great, obscure secret of your legacy. There is no treasure. You never buried any. A callback to the realities of your life. Your plunder was mundane. Sugar, cocoa, textiles, medicine. It was divided among your crew and spent almost immediately on rum, repairs, and survival. The myth of your buried treasure was an invention of later storytellers, a romantic fiction for a world that wanted you to be more than what you were. In the end, you are remembered not for what you actually did, but for how you looked while doing it. You were not the most successful pirate in history. Men like Blackbeard Roberts captured hundreds more ships. You were not the richest pirate. Your career was too short. But you were, without a doubt, the pirate with the best brand management. Your genius was not in fighting or in sailing, but in marketing. You understood, in a way no one else did, that in the business of piracy, fear was a more valuable commodity than gold. Your legacy is a triumph of theatre over substance. Your real story, the story of Edward Teach, is a pathetic footnote. It's the story of an unemployed sailor who chose a life of crime out of desperation, who was probably not very good at it, and who died a brutal, humiliating death after a very short career. But the story of Blackbeard, the monster you created, a callback to the smoke and the fire and the demonic flag, is the story that survives. It is a testament to the power of a good, terrifying story to completely erase the boring, miserable truth. And so, the man is gone, but the myth remains, a dark, theatrical shadow that has long since detached itself from the sad, desperate reality of your life. The real you, the man who suffered from the heat, the bad food, the constant threat of disease and betrayal, is forgotten. All that is left is the character, Blackbeard, the demon of the sea, a villain from a storybook. The ultimate reason it sucked to be you is that you lived a short, brutal, and uncomfortable life of constant struggle, only to have your memory hijacked and turned into a romantic adventure that bears no resemblance to the truth. You were a man who put on a scary costume to survive in a violent world, and now the costume is all anyone remembers. The man inside, with all his miserable, boring realities, has vanished into the mist forever.